Welcome back, children of the night, to another edition of the Infernal Archive. I'm Francois Nijin.
I'm Andrew Sorsdahl.
We don't usually do that. I don't know if we do that. We're
I
still
don't
figuring
think
it out.
so. No.
Okay, on this,
We're your holy, unholy priests and your guides.
we don't
the
have
archive.
names.
We're nameless.
On this episode of the Infernal Archive, we will be watching the film Haunt from 2019. Once again, I don't really know anything about it. I'll read the quick little Wikipedia blurb for you. Haunt is a 2019 American slasher film written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. The film stars Katie Stevens, Will Britton, and Lauren McLean. Set on Halloween night, it follows a group of friends who encounter a haunted house that promises to feed on their darkest fears, unknowing that the performers have murderous intent. I know this movie was produced by Eli Roth, which is kind of cool. He's pretty storied in the horror industry at this point. He's more known for his like
Slasher,
body horror
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
I guess he did Thanksgiving recently, which is like a
slashery.
slasher movie. And then I was reading about the production of this film. Didn't seem like too much interesting happened, but worth noting that it premiered on Shudder after I think it had a limited theatrical run, and then after it premiered on Shudder, which is that Amazon Prime horror subscription service, or I think you can get it separately as well. It premiered at number 1 in 2019 and stayed there for quite a while, and it got pretty good reviews and stuff. So
Yeah, I remember hearing good things about it when it came out.
The
but I
poster's
never
pretty
watched it.
chilling.
Yeah, it's the clown mask. Like, anytime you have a clown mask, it's gonna be fucked. Like,
The tagline says, "Some monsters are real." Ooh.
spooky stuff.
Alrighty, we'll watch the movie and then we will give you our thoughts in a little while.
There's nothing to worry about. You're gonna be just fine. I'm your number one fan.
We just finished watching from 2019, and what a disappointment.
Yeah, pretty mid, as the kids would say.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
Pretty mid. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of slasher movies to begin with. Like, whatever, they're a thing, but fairly typical slasher movie if you ask me.
Yeah,
in many ways.
Yeah, true. I guess that is true. I'm also not. I have a difficult time already, like baseline, finding situations that are fully grounded in reality particularly terrifying. Like if it's like a guy who's just trying to kill some people, you're gonna have a little more work to do to get me spooked or get me scared. And some movies do it though. Like there's parts of like some of the new Halloween movies, like the Rob Zombie ones and the newer ones, that I found like tense and frightening and like horrific or whatever. But the way that I felt about this movie, once again, like I didn't know anything going into this movie. I didn't know it was just going to be a straightforward reality-based slasher. Like it could have delved into the realm of supernatural. Like there's a point obviously where you're like, oh, this is just fully in reality, and it does a decent job of like. This is actually probably to the film's detriment. It does a decent job of like setting up tension, and you're like you're on the roller coaster, and you're up, and you're like, yeah, this is good. And
that first reveal that happens midway through is like, oh shit,
that's
it
probably
was unexpected. It's like probably the best piece of the movie.
Totally.
That particular moment.
Yeah.
And then from there, it just kind of like gets less interesting, I guess, and fizzles out.
Yeah. That's true. It does feel the way. It feels like this film had a gimmick, like one of the creators had an idea for an original spin on mass killers, and was like, "Oh, that's such a great idea. Now let's make a scene with that idea, and then let's try to write a film around that idea." And then it was like, effectively created an opening that ramps up in tension and is like decently engaging to watch and an interesting setup. But then like had no plan for afterwards and was just like, okay, well, I guess let's let it devolve into a uninteresting Evil Dead, like the killers, like now the killers will get got or whatever, and
the entire storyline of like we're gonna turn around on the killers depends on the killers being fully fucking inept, fully incompetent, and it's like they're smart enough to set up this elaborate like mind fuck of a haunted house, and then but they're not able to make basic decisions that are intelligent when it comes to like capturing and killing their quarry, which apparently they've also done a ton, but they lose it on these individuals for some reason. Like
it's like chasing somebody with a gun, and then you get them cornered, and then when you have the gun and you have them in the corner and you are fully in control, you drop the gun and then you stumble and then you fall on your back. You're like, oh, please don't get the gun before me. And then the guy gets the gun and then shoots you. And it's like, you had him. You were fully in control of this entire scenario. They didn't have a chance. And somehow you bungled it. And not only did you bungle it so fucking bad. Because it's not just a killer, it's a group of killers. And all of you bungled it. None of you were competent. Like, come on, man. I don't know.
They got more incompetent as the movie. Like, the first guy who they get, it was very much that one I can like suspend my disbelief totally, because it's like, oh, you think you're in control, you're like lording it over this in the situation, and then you don't have control and now you're dead.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I buy that.
You can give him one.
I can give him one.
Yeah.
And then even the second guy, it's like still kind of stupid, but I'm like, okay, like again, you're kind of the same thing. Like you think you're in control, and it turns out, other person's right behind you. Gotcha. Okay. And then after that, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you? It felt so. It's like they wanted them to get away, but they didn't want them to get away.
Yeah, that's
like,
the thing is, it feels like an issue of like not having a strong idea of what your villain's motivation is. Because if their motivation is to scare people, like they want to see the fear in their eyes before they kill them, then kidnap them, chain them to a fucking wall, and do fucked up stuff for 6 days before you shoot them in the head. Like, if that's your only motivation is to see people in fear before you kill them, or like in a false sense of security, there's so many ways you could do that in an easier, less convoluted way. I think you could have saved this super easily with a little bit of exposition or some type of like reveal of the killers. It's like, actually, they want to play this game and they've set up this elaborate game with these rules.
I want to play a game.
And that's the whole thing, is we're going to play this fucked up game that they don't realize is life and death until partway through the haunted house. And like, maybe then you could have saved it. And it's like, then we're not relying on their ineptitude, we're relying on the fact that, they're psychopaths who have this code that they're adhering to. They have to follow the rules of this game they set up.
Yeah, because then the reality that they build, then you can get into. Then I'm like, okay, this is the reality that exists, and they presented it to me. But they didn't do
any of that. Yeah,
it's like people complain about some of the Saw movies in this regard, and it is something that happens sometimes in the Saw movies. That's funny. It's like Jigsaw will set up a trap where it's like, clearly you can't win. Like the chances of you successfully completing this challenge is like very
like, why even
slim.
bother with the challenge?
Yeah, and it's like those traps always feel like the least engaging, because it's like it's always more engaging when the person has a chance. And but I mean, it's fucking Saw. Like, not all the traps are gonna be winners. But like in this film, they have a whole section. And the thing is, Jigsaw will tell them the rules. Like, this is what you need to do, and this is how you get out. At least each trap has a rule, whatever. And if they do if they were able to do the impossible task, they would get out. So like, at least the
there's no trickery or bullshit
the logic is consistent in those films. Whereas like in this movie, they have this whole scene where they explain these rules. You can't touch the act, because they're going to like we said, I don't know if we explained it or if it was in the description, but it's just a group of friends who go to a haunted house that's like off a fucking back road, and then there's actors. So anyways, the first thing they run into is this clown actor who's standing at the door, and he won't talk to them, and then he like tells them, you can't go in with a cell phone, and so give me your cell phone, we're going to put it in a lockbox in here. And he gives them pieces of paper with the rules on them. And then one of the rules is don't touch the actors, very clearly stated. It feels important. And then at one stage of the film, one of the guys like shoves an actor, and you're like,
don't touch me, motherfucker, get out.
Now it's like, and to that point, nothing really fucked up had happened, really. And so it's like, now they broke the rules, so now something, it's like, well, now that we know, by the end of the film, you're like, that's totally inconsequential. Like,
they were just gonna kill them.
They were gonna kill them anyway. Like,
it's like if they would have done that, guy broke the rules, so then that guy gets come up, and it's like, as long as you do, like you said, as long as you're following the rules and you're playing the game, like kind of like any of those movies that are effective when you're playing a game, and you feel like, as long as you there's hope. But it just, at a certain point, you're like, they're just killing you to kill you. There is no rhyme or reason for this. The movie feels confused and like it doesn't know what it's trying to do, and then you as a viewer are just like, I don't know who I'm supposed to be cheering for. know what's gonna happen. There's no logical consistency within this film, and now I'm just kind of out to sea and don't know what you're going for movie.
Yeah, it's the best I could say would be it would be a great movie if you had a bunch of people who were like horror fans or like Halloween party type deal throw on in the background, and like you would like a B movie, you know, like you're not really paying that much attention, you're kind of talking to people, and it's more like background atmosphere.
I would say this film only works basically only works in the context of a visualizer, or if you like the aesthetic of horror movies without anything actually being
scary,
good or scary, then you'd enjoy it. And I mean, there is a crowd of people who like, I just want to see it's kind of like the slasher fan is like, they don't really want to be scared. They
American Horror Story.
They want to see some American Horror Story is like Citizen Kane compared to this movie. Some of the stuff. But but I mean,
it's scary adjacent. It's not like
exactly. It's
spooky aesthetics versus actual.
Yeah, like this isn't a horror movie fans movie. This is somebody who wants to dip their toe in the shallow end and then be safe and not have to like see anything that's interesting or whatever.
I think we should just spoil it because it's the only fucking redeemable thing about this movie. The one cool thing this movie did that we both were like, that was fucking awesome, was the whole time these killers are in these weird, like, fucked up kind of looking masks.
Warning, spoiler. So if you do if you want to watch this movie, if what I just said, you're like a horror adjacent person who just wants like the aesthetic and like a very surface level,
stop here.
And watch it. But go ahead.
But like the main thing that was cool that I thought like, wow, good on you, film team. They have these fucked up masks, and the one guy has like the one victim cornered, and he takes his mask off and reveals this super fucked up, like body modified, tattooed, like silicone implants, spikes all over his fucking face.
Yeah.
And just that, you think, oh, the mask is scary, and then it's like, psych, his face is way more fucked up than the mask.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a cool thing.
And it would have been excellent had it done that and then continued to build on that and then had some genuine
But it just fizzled out.
But it's like you could tell like that's where the ideas ended. Like we don't have any good ideas after this. Like there's even stuff in the film that was fully inconsequential to the plot. Like there's this whole subplot about a girl with an abusive boyfriend, and it ends up just not mattering at all. There's an entire scene dedicated to like bringing this boyfriend into the plot of the film for literally no reason. He serves no purpose in the film at all. Very odd writing to just like you could cut him out of the film, and the film in terms of its feel would not change one iota. And that why?
The only thing would be that they find his truck and escape.
Yeah.
But like they could have just found a truck on the side of the road.
And the thing is I'm like, is it his truck?
It
because
is.
Like
it is.
Who the fuck parks on the side of the road, leaves their door open, and there's a lane that goes into the place? What?
The only thing
I'm still like, why was it his truck? I don't know.
I think it was, but yeah, it really loses it at the end. But I think like overall very mid, not the worst one I don't think we've seen in this batch. But definitely not very middle of the road for me.
Yeah, I would honestly
much
say
better, much better than Thesis, I would say. Without the context of being a student film.
I don't know.
Without the context of being a student film, it's better than Thesis.
But once again, like at least Thesis to me didn't it was consistent throughout, and it just wasn't a particularly whatever. But this film felt, I hate potential or like hanging your hat.
Balls, yeah.
Yeah, it's like this feels almost worse to like, man. If you have a good idea and you have one good idea, make a fucking short film. Like, just do that. Don't
don't drag
feel
it
like
out.
you can whatever. I agree with you. Thesis is also like fucking, and that movie has the benefit of being made by kids and in the fucking like whatever 80s 90s. This had a huge budget. Like this had a lot going for it and just wasn't utilized. I don't know why this film was like the most watched Shudder exclusive. I don't know why it has good reviews.
I get it. It's like horror adjacent. It's easy to watch in a big crowd and still like get the thing. Like it's not good, but in a certain context, I can see why this would be. Picture like you're a teenager at a Halloween party. It's the movie to watch.
It's the only contact. It's like if you were 13 and this is baby's first horror movie, and you have very low. Like I could see you seeing this being like, oh, it was spooky, but like, man, but the parts of this movie feel the marketing and I like certain aspects of it feel like people who are seasoned horror writers to a degree because there's so many tropes they're playing with at the beginning of the film.
Oh, and Eli Roth's name is attached to it.
Yeah, Eli Roth's involved in the movie, and for an Eli Roth movie, it is very tame in terms of violence. There's like one scene that's in that they kind of spoiled in the trailer a little bit. That's like, oh, that was really wild. But then that's kind of the scene. Like,
it's fine. If you're into slasher movies, you'd probably enjoy it.
Yeah, true. If you just want to see some deaths.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like it's very middle of the road. Very, very mid. Very.
I'll say this: I have no desire to ever see it again.
No.
Like not. Yeah. Alrighty, so now we will spin the wheel of doom or death or whatever. We got to come up. I think we did have a name for this.
Unholy wheel.
Unholy wheel. Andrew, please do the honors.
Yes, and we're down to the final 5 here. So got a good spin. Are we gonna get? These are all newer except for the 170s one, and we're gonna get the 70s one.
Holy shit, that's tight. That's tight.
We got the oldest movie on the list. This is our last pre 80s.
Oh yeah, pre 80s. Yeah. So we have 2 from before the millennium, and everything else is after the millennium. There's 5 films left total. Yeah. On the next episode of the Infernal Archive, we will be watching Don't Look Now from 1973. Thank you so much for watching, and catch us on the next episode.